Welcome to 58 degrees north latitude. We are on the shores of the Hudson Bay up in Churchill, Canada, and we are broadcasting live from Tundra Buggy 1. It's a pretty remarkable experience to be here, and we're so glad that you're all joining us. My name's Kyle Shutt with Discovery Education, and I'm so thrilled that Polar Bears International has once again invited us up to bring this live stream to talk about polar bears, to meet fascinating people, to talk about STEM careers, some of the opportunities that you, the students out there, might have in your future if you desire to have those kinds of dreams. So we're so excited that you're joining us. And of course, we want to get started this morning with our live stream, letting you know how you can ask questions, how you can submit your pictures. We absolutely love seeing what your viewing experience looks like. Are you watching in a classroom? Are you watching maybe at your house? Are you watching with a large group of people in an auditorium? However you're watching, we love to see that. So please remember that you can always send pictures and questions to either email them to questions@pbears.org, or else you can tweet to us using the hashtag Tundra Connections. And of course, we know we have so many watchers from Discovery Education, so many educators joining us. You can continue to use the Celebrate with DE hashtag. Before we go any further, I want to introduce our esteemed panel. I'm really excited for you to meet them because, of course, they have a whole lot of really cool background, really cool experiences, and some pretty phenomenal credentials too. So we'll start here all the way on the far end here with Dr. Tia Beckshoff. She's a postdoctoral fellow at the University of Alberta, Canada, and did her undergraduate studies at the University of Copenhagen and the University Center in Svalbard. So quite a diverse background. Please, Tia, if you're willing to, introduce yourself and tell everyone maybe something about you and maybe something you hope to do when you were a student, because we're talking careers and kind of dreams today.
Right, yeah. So my name is Tia, as you've heard a couple of times now. And I grew up in Denmark, so not here in Canada where we are right now. And when I was a kid, or at least when I was a teenager, I knew I wanted to be something with animals, but I wasn't sure what. So I tried finding out how being a vet, like a veterinarian, would be like. And I also considered becoming a zookeeper. But somehow it ended up with me studying biology instead. And lo and behold, a lot of years later, since I made that decision to study biology, I'm now a polar bear researcher.
That's a pretty cool job, a polar bear researcher. One job maybe you want to have in the future. Go ahead, let's move down to our next panelist, Dr. Flavio Lehner, who's a postdoctoral researcher at the National Center for Atmospheric Research in Boulder, USA. And tell everyone where you got your PhD, if you will.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. My name is Flavio. As Tia, I'm originally from the other continent, Europe. So I was born and raised in Switzerland, where I did my PhD. And already as a kid, I was fascinated with the environment, was playing a lot in the garden. Actually also thought about trying to make a career somehow working with animals. Eventually, I started, though, being interested in the planet as a whole and started studying our weather and then climate, and especially in recent years we've been studying a lot how the weather and the climate is changing. But still now this comes full circle to work with people who are actually still working with animals on the ground, and we're like trying to join forces for that.
Wonderful. We're really excited to have you here. And then now we're going to move on to esteemed educator Julene Reed, who will be a PhD soon, right? Working on your PhD, which is very exciting. Of course,
at the end of it.
You're an educator with over 25 years experience. You've worked throughout the world with Polar Bears International, of course, but also with Jane Goodall's Roots and Shoots program. If you will, share everyone a little bit about yourself and what you thought you might be when you were growing up.
Right. Well, I love gardening and being outside in the environment like you did, and I loved animals like you do. And so both of those together made me really appreciate what we're doing here. I love just studying science and just having a passion for things that I like to do. And so working, when it all comes together with the education that I'm also passionate about and with technology that I love to be involved with, and then the animals and the science, that's what really gets me excited. And so it's so fun to be out here.
It certainly is fun to be out here. I mentioned earlier, my name is Kyle, and when I grew up, guys, I wanted to do something kind of with technology. I've always liked that, and of course, I ended up teaching, but I'm so excited because we're here. We're talking STEM, and the buggy here, you're going to get a little tour in a little bit. Just the ability to communicate the message of how important polar bear conservation is and what's going on in this remote area, and be able to bring that live over the internet like we are today is, to me, just fascinating, and I like to understand how does it work. And I thought I was going to be an engineer at one point in my life as well, so definitely have a little bit of that technical side as well. So we are talking about STEM careers. Of course, we're going to talk about polar bears too. We're going to hopefully see some polar bears. Pretty sure they're snoozing somewhere around here. I think there's one just outside the window. There he is. He's taking a little nap. It's been a little bit warmer than usual this time of year, but it's cooling down a little bit. So we're hoping that it's going to snow today some more, because it was actually raining yesterday. But then it's going to get cold tonight and tomorrow and freeze, and so we hope that will stay for the polar bears for sure. But let's get started. We're talking about careers. I'd like to go ahead. We're going to share a lot of different interesting careers and interesting people, really. When you're watching some of these videos, we want you to think about, what do these people have in common? Okay, so let's go ahead and bring up that image. We have four images here, and we want the students to go ahead and look at these 4 images, and we're going to do a little strategy that I call 4 to 1. And actually, teachers, this is a popular strategy for you to use. It's one of our popular spotlight on strategies. But what I want you to do right now, take a look at all 4 of those images. Very different, and yet there's something similar about them. What I want you to do is write down, what is it in those 4 images that brings the reason that we're here, and also kind of ties together our webcast, our virtual field trip today. So 4 separate images, take a look at them. What is it about those images that is connected? And there's, of course, going to be more than one answer, but that's how it is in the real world, and that's really what STEM's about too, so no problem there. All right, there it is. Okay, so you've seen that. Okay, let's go ahead and meet our first guest, if you will. This is our first STEM career video. We'll listen in, learn a little bit, and then come back. Go ahead and roll that video.
My name is Brett Willock. I'm the District Supervisor, Conservation Officer of the Churchill District and the Polar Bear Alert Program for Manitoba Sustainable Development. I've always liked working in the outdoors. I've always liked working with animals. And a good opportunity came up for me to move to Churchill and work with polar bears, and I took that opportunity. In Churchill, you have a few different kinds of responsibilities than you would in another district. The Polar Bear Alert Program is a huge part of our job here, making sure that bears and people are safe in the same environment. There's no other district in the province that you get to work on polar bears as closely as we do here. We want to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to see a bear, but at the same time viewing that bear from a safe distance that's both safe for the bear and for the tourists themselves. What I like most about what I do is the fact that I get to work hands-on with polar bears, and it's a pretty neat experience.
Pretty fascinating career there, to be able to protect the bears, to interact, to really help out society as well. I think that was pretty fascinating. Of course, that first image, if you were following along with our 4 images, yes, that image came from there. Kind of a striking image when you looked at the piece of technology and really that piece of machinery lifting up a bear, and you're kind of wondering, well, what's going on, and why would they even have a polar bear, being hoisted up? Julene, can you talk a little bit more about what's going on here?
Absolutely. So I'm going to talk to you about the Polar Bear Alert Program in Churchill. And so because we're close to the town of Churchill, which is about 1,000 people, except during tourist season when lots of people come here from all over the world, sometimes the polar bears will wander into the city or into the town. And so we have to keep a good watch. We don't go out at night without going in groups. We have to keep our eyes peeled, do kind of a 360 every time. But if one does wander into town, they actually sound a siren. We have cars that drive around, trucks that drive around from the Park Canada Rangers, and also volunteers that are checking to make sure there aren't polar bears in town. And when they see one, they try to just chase it out safely. They may launch a cracker shell, which is just a loud boom like a firecracker, to scare it away. or, they may use some other things like paintballs or rubber balls eventually. So if you look at the image that shows the polar bear alert sign, when we go out and along the water, there are signs that say, beware of polar bears and polar bear alert. And we saw the bears being hoisted in that video, much like we're seeing here. So if a bear comes in once, they'll put it in the polar bear holding facility. They'll tranquilize it, to get it there. Nothing's ever harmed on the bear. If it's in the facility, they will give it water sometimes, but there's no food because they don't want to return back to town, and they eventually let it go again out close to Churchill. If it comes back again, because they usually mark it the first time, if it comes back again, it's a marked bear, then they will take the helicopter and they'll hoist them farther away and let them go. They're never harmed. We're just trying to get them away from the town of Churchill so that they won't be harmed and they'll stay safe and that the people will stay safe.
Yeah, pretty interesting. Of course, living here, the way of life is just different. You don't worry about polar bears all the time, probably where the students are watching, but they might have their own things, right? If you live in Florida, it's probably alligators that perhaps you're worried about, right? So there are some definite connections, but it's pretty neat. Anybody else have anything that they wanted to share about the video that they found striking? That's okay.
I think it's just one more way. Yeah, it's one more way you can relate to STEM. It's like there are lots of jobs and careers with STEM. So the people who are flying the helicopters are helping the world. The people who are working with the bears in the holding facility are helping the world and the greater good. So lots of ways you can use STEM to really make a difference.
Absolutely. And we have so many questions coming in. Thanks for continuing to submit those questions using the hashtag Tundra Connections or Celebrate with DE. Of course, you can email them to us, questions@pbears.org. I think the other thing about this career is just that kind of a volunteerism spirit that you wanted to help other people. So kind of fascinating there.
Yeah, I think that's very true because I've always wanted to help other people and help animals. So if you're the kind of person that likes to help and make things better, students are the ones who really can make things better. You can make a difference. So when you see something that's not quite right in the world, take action and make a difference because what you do really counts and you're the holder of the future of our world. So know that together you can all make a difference.
Absolutely. Now, we're going to take a little shift here because of course, that career is fascinating. If you like to help out and you like bears, yeah, that's wonderful. Our panel, we know that they have a lot of accreditations, but at the same point, you don't have to become a PhD to follow your passions and to really get into do interesting work that you want to do, right? And I think that's the key that each of you have shared with me over the past couple of days is that you kind of fell here. You weren't sure, like, how did I end up here? But it's because you found something you like and then you committed and you worked hard. And so speaking of things that you like, maybe you like to draw. Maybe you like to listen to music. Maybe you like to use computers. Let's go ahead and listen to this next career profile and see how maybe you could still work out on the tundra with those skills.
Hi, I'm Becky Masuga.
And I'm Brian Masuga, and we are Peppermint Narwhal Creative.
We're graphic designers with a passion for animals, and we collaborate with Polar Bears International to help promote conservation through creativity.
We combine that creativity with critical thinking to help educate the public about polar bears and their environment.
To do this, we take complex research and break it down into easy-to-understand illustrations, infographics, signage, and animations. For PBI, that means promoting Arctic Sea Ice Day, Polar Bear Awareness Week, and climate change awareness.
We wanted to do something positive to affect the environment in a good way. And we decided that the best way to do that was to actually follow our own passions and talents to be able to impact this important cause and to have a lot of fun doing it along the way.
What I find so fascinating is that they take a topic which can be so complex. When I listen to the work that each of you are doing out here on the tundra, it really is so deep and analytical. Really good science, but at the same time, to communicate that, that's so powerful. And it's often probably a challenge to communicate this really tough science in a way that gets everyone else to understand and to care about what's going on out here. And I think those 21st century skills, especially communication and creativity, come into play here because as you saw right there, they take that complex science and then they communicate it. So Flavio, if you will, can you talk through some of those images that they shared? I thought that was pretty wild, some of the stuff that they're coming up with and creating.
Yeah, I agree. I just want to echo Kyle's comment that one of the key things for making an impact is really to communicate what you do most clearly. And for me, in a daily life, my daily work is like pretty much I'm surrounded by other scientists. We're trying to investigate things and solve problems. But as I mentioned, we're like just a bunch of scientists. So we talk in sciencey language, and even when I talk to my parents about what I do, I'm not always sure they get it. So a key thing, and I think the work that you've seen the people do in this clip is extremely crucial. So they've taken messages and results from actually a lot of different sub-disciplines. So all these parts of the nutrient cycle and how the food works up here, these are even like individual science fields where people spend their lives trying to figure out how algae works and how diatoms work. And to put this all together in a way that like you and everybody can understand, that really empowers everybody to be engaged in these things. So if you understand this and you can tell your friend how the nutrient cycle in the Arctic and the food chain works, this is really powerful. And I think that's why we really need people connecting these things and working on how to best communicate this.
Yes, yeah.
Sorry. I just wanted to add, because, Kyle, you were talking about maybe you like to draw, that even if you're an artist, like I've seen some amazing, wonderful art, paintings, drawings, and I'm also working with this woman who does stop motion movies. And it's just, you can do outreach, you can do your part of telling people what's going on in the environment about climate change in so many different ways.
And this is so great because we have so many questions coming in about how do I get started, how might I think about my first job and what it might be, how do I apply my creative talents and so forth. Julene, you had a pretty interesting story as well from an artist that was doing some work with ice sculptures, I believe.
Right, and so Mark Korath is an artist who was up here a few years ago, and he got huge, like 2-ton blocks of ice. There's Mark there. He's British, and he comes from the UK anyway. And he would take these blocks of ice and make replicas of the polar bear. This is probably in Copenhagen because of the climate change talk in Copenhagen. So he was making the replica of the polar bear out there. And his whole thing was a metaphor, using art to show the difference that we make as humans on our planet and how ice melts and how we're losing some of our glaciers and things like that. So as it melted, you would see the skeleton of the polar bear underneath. And so he would encourage people to go up and put their hands on it. And people during the whole climate change conference would be putting their hands on it to talk and melting the ice. And the whole metaphor was that it's human impact that's creating this melting or the warming of our climate and the global climate change that we're seeing. So that's, there are all kinds of ways you can use art. Another thing is called social entrepreneurship. So social entrepreneurship is doing something creative and new for the better good of the world. And a lot of the things you're working on in your classes with design thinking and 3D design and visual communication, invention literacy, and digital storytelling, much like stop motion, are things that can really make a difference. We've had students make public service announcement videos. So finding ways that even though you're not in the Arctic with us and you're not here with the polar bears, there are absolutely ways you can get involved in all kinds of realms.
Absolutely, thank you. Great message there. And of course, as we shift to our next career clip, again, you could go the science route, you could go the creative route if you like to draw and use those kind of skills. But there are some very important skills as far as even think about the transportation. How do we get out here, right? How do we move people? The logistics, the planning, that kind of thing. So we're going to take a little view of a helicopter pilot, and I think you're probably going to enjoy this. Probably lots of students out there that wish maybe they could become a helicopter pilot. Let's go ahead and watch.
Hello, my name's Evan. And I'm Chase, and we both work for Hudson Bay Helicopters, Churchill, Manitoba. I like the diversity of it, because throughout the seasons, the type of work changes also. So kind of once you start getting used to doing one thing, then the seasons change and so does your job.
Yeah. It's fun in the summertime, you can go fight fires, and then in the wintertime you're up here working with polar bears and doing different stuff almost every day. The first time I got in a helicopter was for a familiarization flight, and you hop in with an instructor and you have the controls, and it was pretty exciting the first time.
I would say if you want to do it, make sure you're really serious about doing it.
You got to make sure you're passionate about it.
Yeah,
and
absolutely. And it's definitely a lifestyle. It's not just a job or a career. So we always look forward to going flying.
All right, we're back, and I hope you enjoyed this clip of the helicopter pilots. I myself, I obviously far away from being a helicopter pilot, but one thing that really I can echo from this video is that that I enjoy in my everyday work, and that I think is something that you could strive for, is really that every day provides new challenges. Your job is not going to be something where you go to every day and you know it's going to go down exactly the same way. I think that's like really a key motivation for scientists, but as you've just heard from many other jobs, if you can find a job that provides a new challenge every day, you will really enjoy this instead of having a job that looks exactly the same every day. So I think that's a key thing for me to take away from this video.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, when we talk about STEM, we also often the grand engineering challenges come into mind, right? And so these are really big challenges that we're thinking about of how we can solve these problems or these challenges for our future. Things, for example, carbon sequestration, right? We talk a lot about climate change and the impacts, and of course, carbon sequestration is connected to that. Also, other things that come to mind are making solar energy economical, right? Providing access to clean water. These are some really powerful grand engineering challenges. But one of the other ones that I think is so connected to what we're doing here on the Tundra is engineering the tools of scientific discovery. Right? That's a challenge, and of course, sometimes that relates to, for example, maybe going to Mars and how can we even colonize the planet of Mars. But you know what? Out here, it's pretty remote on the tundra, and that's exactly what we're doing here, is advancing scientific discovery through using some really clever technology, but also some great problem solving. So if we can, we're going to take a little tour of Buggy 1 here, because I think this is so important. Let's go ahead and look around. BJ is behind the camera. You'll see him in just a second. He's backing up. You can see to the left of Tia, right there was the steering wheel. Up, other side, yeah, that's the steering wheel, right? Yeah, that's our steering wheel. That's how we drive this big machine around. You might not think it, but yeah, the front windshield is behind us, and that's pretty wild. Also, things, creative ways of even light management. We've got some paper, some film behind us to kind of cut down the light. Pretty interesting. Let's go ahead around the buggy. We'll see that this buggy's been designed with some workstations. Power management. How do you have so much power? Elisa, you can say hi. Meg, you guys can say hi. You're on camera. There they are. Staff scientist Elisa McCall for Polar Bears International. She does a lot of work up here, especially talking polar bears every day. You can check her out on the Explorer cams and live chats. And then, of course, BJ, you can say hi to yourself. I know it's kind of weird, but he's the man behind the scene. BJ is cutting all this video. He's listening to what we're saying. He's showing you the polar bears. And so that right there, that's a pretty cool job, because BJ, he's manning cameras that are live outside, showing you polar bears. He's managing all the audio, and of course, he's also sending it out to the web. So BJ, if you could, I'd love for you to walk over for just a second, say hi, and talk a little bit about how you even came into your role and what you do here.
And as he's doing that, the other person was Meg. We don't want to forget Meg. She's
I
out here
thought I said hi to
volunteering.
Meg, but yes, hi Meg, absolutely.
Oh, we can all stay put here, but yeah, my name is BJ Kirchhofer, and since no one's driving the camera, I'm gonna have to duck down. But yeah, I sort of fell into this role. I worked for a photographer in Bozeman, Montana, where I was going to school, and showed up early every day and stayed late. And after working there for 5 or 6 years, he said, I've got some people in the north that you should meet. And I was sent here and really, kind of applied problem-solving skills and some patience.
You could say so. Was there internet before you came?
There was internet out here. It was a little more basic than it was. Now in the last 10 years, of course, technology has moved forward, so we've been applying some of the neat new tools that are out there to provide a sometimes more reliable signal from.
Can you describe that? Like, what happens though for us to be able to send this kind of a video feed all around the world?
Yeah, so we use almost like high-powered wireless Wi-Fi equipment. So big radios, and we attach them to large antennas, and we direct that signal out here to the tundra, to Buggy 1. And so Buggy 1 has the ability to communicate back to the outside world. So it's pretty neat stuff. It's stuff that you're probably already using in your computers and in your homes. So it's just a little bit bigger and with a little larger antennas.
I think what's fascinating there is when you think about, Julene was talking about that social entrepreneurship. I think lots of students might be thinking, oh yeah, maybe I want to go be an electrical engineer. That sounds really neat. But it's not just kind of what you want to study, it's where do you want to work? What kind of environment might you want to work in? Because if polar bears is your thing, I mean, electrical engineering, talking about wireless frequencies, data systems, all that kind of stuff, totally applicable to everything that you talked about and what you're doing, and yet you're doing it out here on the tundra. So there are lots of really interesting places you can work that you can also contribute that expertise.
Yeah, totally. It's definitely, there's a lot of places for people up here. It doesn't matter. Maybe it's a biology degree, but it also could be electrical engineering or mathematics or all types of different things.
Yeah. Can you tell maybe one story of teamwork? Because here's the thing, I know, and you say this all the time, it's a team that makes this happen, right? You might have been invited up and helped to advance things, but it's because of this culture of being able to work together.
Yeah, sure. So I guess the best story that I maybe have was we were sitting here on the buggy just after a broadcast and working with a biologist that was studying polar bear dens, but he was using tape cameras. You guys may not even know what that is, but like a camera that took a cassette tape instead of a digital card. And you know, I thought to myself, you know, there's probably better stuff out there. Why don't we work together and see if we can't improve things? And we're still working on that project now. We're looking at female polar bear dens and the cubs that come out. So it's a pretty cool little partnership we have there.
That's wonderful. Thanks so much for saying hi. We'll say goodbye. I know you've got to kind of get back there and keep running things, right?
Yeah, there we go.
Thanks, BJ. Appreciate your time.
And Kyle, you know, one other thing that was mentioned there was all the you know, changing and having to reiterate everything because we're always having to think on our feet, and that's what a lot of our kids are doing right now is that design thinking. So you may think things are good, but then you have to keep making changes. So that's a good thing. And so BJ's doing that every day. We've done it every day, and that's part of living in our world is working in groups and design thinking.
Absolutely. So design thinking, a huge part of the kind of the STEM connection. Let's get back to the career aspect and the focus. We're going to meet Grant McNeil. He's the executive director of the Churchill Northern Studies Center. And it's really fascinating because talking about wanting to come up here, you could volunteer if you wanted to come up to Churchill. And the Churchill Northern Studies Center just might be your ticket. So let's learn some more.
My name is Grant McNeil. I'm the Executive Director of the Churchill Northern Study Center. So my job here at the Study Center is to take hopes and dreams and aspirations of our Board of Directors and turn it into our daily operations. So our mission is to understand and sustain the North, and we do that by providing logistical support to researchers and learners. This morning I'm doing financial stuff and making sure the budgets all work, and I'm also chasing bears away, and I'm also driving bus this afternoon. So I take that big mission and I turn it into action here. You know, our actions here and the actions of the staff can have a big impact on the experience of visitors and learners and researchers here too. And what we do here can help researchers take their limited funding and really stretch it out and get the most out of their field seasons. And I think after 40 years of doing it here at the Study Center, the CNSC is really good at that too. So it's nice to be part of an organization that knows what it's good at.
Yeah, so this is really interesting, and I think this little video also shows that you can have diversity in your workplace, not just as a researcher, but also as a manager at the study center here. Yeah,
definitely some administrative skills there, right? I mean,
oh
he
yeah,
talked
definitely.
About he was working on the budget in the morning.
And then
right?
scaring bears later in the day.
Scaring bears later, and then
driving the bus around. Yeah. So how's that for a day?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
No,
but
that's
again,
really neat.
I think that hard work, BJ mentioned that a little bit, kind of getting in early, staying late. I think that's the key to all of these successful
It's
STEM
really,
careers.
and you can also hear that he's also talking about it. Actually, it's the one thing that you see in all of these little clips that you've seen now is that passion really is very important in choosing what you want to do for your career, for your job. And I think definitely everyone here in the buggy and everyone you've seen there, the passion is what is driving them.
Yeah. So we're going to go back to that 4-to-1 image that we started with in the beginning because I want to continue to remind the students to make those connections. What from those 4 images, kind of what's the story? How are they combining? You've seen 3 of the 4 images so far. I'm sure you can guess which career is coming up. But yeah, the lower right-hand picture there, that's an image from some of the work they do out here on the tundra in the summer. It's a brief kind of growing season, if you will, but there's a lot of biology and microbiology and things to study, more than just polar bears. In fact, the belugas, right? Thousands and thousands of belugas come up
Churchill may
River.
be the polar bear capital of the world here now in the fall and the winter, but during the summer and early fall, it's the beluga capital of the world.
And by the way, speaking of polar bear capital of the world, how cute was that? Like, I love seeing those polar bears kind of shake. He's just kind of doing his bear thing. What's going on with him right now, Tia?
Well, this bear is just stretching. He's been sleeping for a while, and then like everyone else, like your cat, like your dog, like your dad, I'm sure, they like to stretch. Lie down again, get comfy. Because really, out here, there's not much else to do right now until the ice comes back.
All right, well, let's shift gears here to our last of our STEM career profile. And I think the students probably have a pretty good hint, and they're probably going to love this one. I think it's a pretty special one. Maybe not something you think of when you think of Churchill and polar bears, but yeah, dog musher is absolutely something that you can do in this area. Let's go ahead and learn more.
Hello, my name is Justin Allen, and this is Bella. She's one of my lead dogs. We work here in Churchill at Wapusket Adventures as a dog musher. I have a team of dogs here I run. I've been here 5 years now. I really love what I do. It's a lot of fun. I find, working with the dogs, I've learned a lot about patience and dedication. I've learned a lot about responsibility, all things that really help me in my everyday life. Also, it's just the love I have, this bond with these animals. It's really something that's made me quite happy in my life. If anyone is interested in getting involved with working with dogs or animals, I would just recommend contacting someone that already has a business and volunteer. Go and see for yourself. You never know, you might just really fall in love and it might be something that you want to do.
What a cool career, right? Like
It really is. It looks
Now-
very cozy.
I heard that Justin might do something else out here too. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm not sure any of you can guess it, but you can try. Whisper it to whoever is next to you.
What else do you think? What other career might he have out here? And he's quite talented, quite skilled too.
He is. You ready?
Go ahead, tell him.
He's also a hairdresser.
Yeah.
And
Isn't that cool?
Apparently a very good one, too.
Yeah, so I think that's just so neat. That's something he likes to do, so he gets to combine his passions and his talents, right? And be able to do it all. So that's pretty wild. Bear's snoozing again. Well, we have so many questions, and thank you to everyone that's asking them. We're trying to answer as many as we can. We'll continue to tweet to you, of course, as we go throughout the day. But I do want to kind of wrap with each of you, if you will. Share with us, before we kind of make our statements of those 4 images to one, share with me, how did you get here? And did you ever think you would be sitting here doing something like this? Flavio, would you like to start?
Sure, yeah. In fact, this is my first time up here in the tundra with Polar Bear International, and as mentioned, it's fairly exciting. But like communicating with friends back home during this time here, I actually got asked a lot, like, how did you end up there? And I think it ties into the video we've seen before. There are lots of opportunities that will come your way. Even if you're a scientist like me, working with other scientists in a lab most of the days, if the opportunity comes along to work with, for example, Polar Bears International and other great organizations, you just have to grab these opportunities, and it will bring you to crazy places, and absolutely will generate amazing experiences that will not only be like something you'll remember, but they will also like further your horizon and give you more skills.
Very well said. Julene, would you like to go?
Yes, and I love global things. I love traveling the world. I love learning about different cultures in addition to animals and the environment. So as an educator focusing on technology and academic technology especially, I was really engaged in a lot of things globally through different ways you connect via mystery Skype or something. And so with that, we had a live camera on an eagle's nest in northwest Tennessee for a while. That got me really excited about that, which brought me to a connection with Jane Goodall's Institute. I started working with Dr. Jane Goodall and her group at Roots and Shoots down in Tanzania. I've been over to Tanzania, worked in the schools there, in the Mamava village at Sumu Secondary School. And then through that, I was connected with Polar Bears International. And all that's continued to lead to other travels as well around the world. So it's just like you said, seize the opportunity. If you're passionate, I think it's about connections too and relationship building. So as we have all become friends, that's important, building those relationships and making those connections and working with people that are like-minded. And that kind of helps guide you as well.
So I couldn't agree more with everything that's just been said. This is also very true for my experience. But also I want to say that sometimes you just have to have faith in yourself, and you have to take some chances. Don't jump off a cliff or anything like that, but metaphorically, you can jump off a cliff. Because usually things work out somehow. Maybe not the first time you try it, but then you try it in a slightly different way, and then you can get to whatever goal it is that you have in mind. So every now and then you have to be patient with yourself, you have to be patient with others, but you do have to take those chances and see what happens. And then you end up in really crazy places. I can't tell you how many times I've looked back, even just a couple of years, looked back on my life and gone, wow, I had no idea that this was going to happen.
Yeah, I would echo everything that you're saying, and that flexibility thing is key too.
Definitely.
Right? It's so easy to get in our comfort zones and to think, oh, I don't need to take that risk. I don't need to step outside my front door. That's not really an opportunity for me. But that little bit of flexibility and saying, hey, let's do things a little differently sometimes goes a really long way.
Yeah, and also like Julene just said, talking to people who are different from yourself, who maybe work in a different field or have very different hobbies, or just learn all you can, and that's really going to help you.
All right, well, let's bring those images back up. We asked the students to continue to share what your connection was between those 4 images, of course, throughout today's event, but we hope that you'll see there that those were just 4 different highlights of careers. Of course, we started with the conservation angle and what you can do to protect people as well as protecting polar bears. We talked about the arts today and how you can use the arts to fuel your passions and take those to somewhere neat and communicate all those critical 4 C's of 21st century skills. Of course, the biology aspect and the role of research and science is that image in the right-hand corner. And then, of course, being a dog musher. And I think that aspect of joy and finding things that you love is something that you heard throughout today's program. So that's kind of how I would summarize and connect those 4 images. I'm sure you have so many other ways, and we hope that you'll share those ways with us as you go throughout the afternoon and you think about what you learned today. But as we wrap here, we do have one more STEM career video that we want you to watch as we say goodbye. But before we say goodbye, of course, we need to thank a couple people, right? Because it's so powerful for us to be here. Frontiers North, who runs and operates these Tundra buggies, donates this Tundra buggy to be able to use as a mobile broadcast studio is pretty nice. And of course, Wirecast, they're allowing us to be able to mix this content and to share with you. So we're so thankful for that. Of course, from Discovery Education, we can't thank Polar Bears International enough for letting us to come up to be a part of this and share this with all the students in classrooms around the United States, around Canada, around North America, and even around the world, as we have students in the UK and even in further places, even Egypt and so forth, that may be watching us. We also want to encourage you to take our survey. It matters. It really helps us in our programming as we think about what we can share with you. So if you take our survey at the end of today's program, you'll have the opportunity to win a polar bear adoption or even a free one-to-one connection with your class. And that's pretty neat because then we can put you guys on video and we can answer some of your questions. So please go ahead and submit that and take time to fill out the survey as well. So there's still so much that you can do. We want you to know that Polar Bears International has Project Polar Bear, so many other things. Of course, we have things on the Discovery Education website there for you to use. The collaborative project, the Global Lab project about the Great Ice Melt might be a great way that you want to extend your learning about the Arctic and about the North. Teachers, you can find that on this exact same Discovery Education page as well. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching. We're going to leave you with our final STEM career video. This is Jill Larkin. She's a resource management officer for Parks Canada in Wapusk National Park nearby here. And so what I want to leave you with as you watch this video is think about how she says, we have to improvise all the time. That's really the lasting point. You heard that a couple times. Think about how that applies in her work, and then have a great rest of your day. Thanks so much for joining, everybody. Enjoy this video. See ya.
Hi, my name is Jill Larkin. I'm a resource management officer for Parks Canada in Churchill, Manitoba. I work mostly in Wapusk National Park. A resource management officer is a science-based position, so I work on research and monitoring in the park. But I also spend a lot of time working with youth. I really enjoy working with youth. We're in a remote area, so it's hard to get a lot of the things that we need, and we have to improvise all the time. When we're traveling in the park, the weather really dictates our plans. Being able to stand there and look in all directions and not see anything man-made, that's the best part of my job.